So just to rewind a little bit, and I think this is one of those cases where there was, I would attribute a lot of the good work on the brand as much to the client as to anybody else. And, I've sometimes clients ask us about what do you want from us as client folks, as brand people. I think fundamentally being very clear about the objective of what do we need out of advertising? Who is the source of business? I think those are things that actually started shaping Red Label on this journey. So just as you were saying, Jasravee, we were a brand that was trying very hard to take share from the local brands, the number 2, 3 brands like Sapat and Vikram #1 and all these local brands who had actually taken share away from Red Label for many years. It used to be a leader, it lost its share. And we actually went and tried many concepts to take, I would have done some 50, 60 concepts and all kinds of things, taste, health, emotional, functional, so on and so forth. None of it cut eyes really with these people because they said, I've been drinking this tea and it's okay. Meaning I don't see any reason to shift back or to go back to Red Label. It was around the time that there was a shift at Unilever and there were a couple of marketeers who came in and they said fundamentally and hence to really push water uphill, we said, hey, tea is tasty plus healthy and flavonoids and all that we did. It had some success, but intuitively we all felt, meaning are we pushing too hard with something as beautiful and simple as a cup of tea? Meaning nobody drinks a cup of tea to be healthy, right? Unless you're drinking green tea.
Yeah.
Then I think the journey started with Mohit and then Sudhir came in. And fundamentally we said, okay, let's look at the history. And it's a great case study of clear marketing because one, they looked at some takeouts from me, always look at data over 15, 20 years if you're working on a large brand. And that data said, whenever you've had very salient advertising, your shares have gone up. So the first point that Sudhir came and told us is, boss, we have to create famous advertising. Just before that, Mohit and team had done a huge study where taste still came out as the most important attribute. So taste was given, salience was given. And then we shifted our target audience from people who, from these users of these other brands to, there were enough Red Label users who were drinking us 2 out of 10 times, 2 out of 12 times a year. And they would flirt with local brands. Somebody gave a spoon free or whatever and went and bought those. And we said there is perhaps an opportunity if we did salient advertising on an attribute like taste and got these people to recognize how wonderful their own tea is. And these are already people predisposed to Red Label. And even if they bought us a couple of times more, it would be home and dry. Now that liberated us from not doing very hard working, like we didn't need flavonoid and heart health and all to convince these people. They anyway knew Red Label, they knew it tasted great. We just needed really memorable advertising that created brand love and put the brand top of mind. That was as simple as that. Now that's where it started. And then we asked the question, when does taste matter? Now till here, the agency we were working with them, meaning as planners, sometimes we work with clients, but a large part of what I've told you is credit to the client, not to the agency. And then we went one step further and said, okay, when does taste matter? And I remember, again, Sudhir and some of them came back and said, boss, I've gone and met a few. And again, that was another learning. However senior you are as a marketeer, if you have the humility to go and meet consumers, I think because you've had experience, you're able to get more. So Sudhir came back and told us, boss, I've generally gone and met a few consumers and I get a feeling that there's something about hospitality and taste. So when I ask people, when does the taste of tea matter a lot? Lots of people said, jab mehman ghar aate hain, when guests come home, I want my tea to taste great. This is where, so taste and hospitality. And we got a single line brief. The Indian woman, the classical Indian woman who's always had a large heart and a sense of hospitality was the TG. And we all related to that. Our mothers, sisters, all of them. We've always seen tea being that leveler. Koi bhi aaya, dushman bhi aaya to chai pilayega. So all that was there, right? And so we said, okay. The only thing was, we said, boss, but we have to still hit the ball out of the park on something that will get talkability and salience for the brand. And this was pre-Byron Sharp. Now everybody talks about salience and all of that. But intuitively, I think we all felt salience was important and memorable advertising was important because we knew it impacted sales. So I remember we went and met a few consumers. I remember this consumer that I met in Lower Parel or somewhere here. And I went and spoke to her about, tell me about homes where you felt really hospitable. And then I had some wonderful stories. Like one consumer told me about, she said, there are people who come home and I just give them a glass of water. There are some who come home and I give them a soft drink because it's thoda formal hai. And then there are people who you really wish came and spent time with you and you wanted to spend time with them. And I'd always put tea on the boil because then you get more time to chat with them and serve them tea. And that's the advantage of a hot beverage. And then she started talking about some of the homes that she's always felt warm and wanted in, her grandmother's house. And then she spoke about her best friend. And this girl was, I think, a Hindu girl, a Hindu Maharashtrian girl. And her best friend happened to be a Muslim girl. And she spoke about how on Eid, while her parents were a little conservative, she would always go to her friend's house for that kheer or whatever they used to make. But she simply loved it.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with tea, but there was a germ of a thought about how food was such a great level. That was one thought that said, and then we generated lots of stories. And so we did, one of the scripts we presented to Unilever was this Hindu-Muslim film. And it was quite, there was a lot of bravery from the client again, because it was an edgy topic. It was 2014, just before the election. There was the whole hangover of the BJP. And we said, if not anything, this will generate conversation. But there was some amount of fear as to whether, there'll be unnecessary problems. And again, the client was brave enough to go and show the script or the animatic, I remember, to some both factions of religious groups to say, are you guys okay? And they said, yeah, this is a good message and all, which gave them more belief apart from the regular preview schedule to air that film. But that then set the tone and became quite a popular film. Once we hit that idea, then we said, boss, there seems to be something really great going here. And then, ironically, brands like I've heard the name Wagh Bakri, the Gujarat tea brand, actually comes from that truth that even a goat and a tiger can drink on the same pool because a cup of tea can bring people.
The logo also is like that. No? Yeah.
So there was, I think there was something there, and then we just started creating stories on. So we laddered. So while it started with hospitality, it still remains at the core, but we started moving to stories that we genuinely felt a cup of tea could bridge differences between people.
भैया, वो बप्पा की मूर्ति लेनी थी घर के लिए।
हाँ बिल्कुल, आता हूँ। आइए।
भैया वो पहली बार बप्पा को घर पे बिठाना है, तो कुछ स्पेशल बताइए ना।
आइए, ये देखिए।
4 भुजा वाली मूर्ति।
जी, इसे अभय मुद्रा कहते हैं।
अच्छा।
अरे छोटू, चाय चलेगी?
बिल्कुल।
देखिए
भैया वो कोई बप्पा की मूषक के साथ वाली।
हाँ है ना, आगे आइए।
हाँ, इस मूर्ति में है ना बप्पा अपने वाहन के साथ।
मूषक, आप जानते हैं, मूषक बापा का वाहन बनने से पहले एक असुर था।
आपको तो काफी कुछ पता है। ये वाली
फाइनल कर दें?
एक्चुअली आज थोड़ा कुछ काम है, मैं कल आता हूँ।
भाईजान, चाय तो लेते जाइए। नमाज अदा करने वाले हाथ बाप्पा की मूर्ति सजाएंगे तो हैरानी तो होगी ही।
यही काम क्यों?
भाईजान, ये भी तो इबादत है। तो कल मिलेंगे ना?
नहीं, आप बाप्पा की मूर्ति बुक कर दीजिए।
कौन सी? वो 4 हाथ वाली?
नहीं नहीं, अभय मुद्रा वाली।
And when that happened, then from Hindu Muslim we moved to live-in, where there was an intergenerational struggle. Then there was Alzheimer's, it was old people. Then we went to transgenders. Then we went to English speaking. Then we did veg, non-veg, and then we looked at what are the big divides that the country has, and tried to see if tea could genuinely solve some of them. Honest enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we stuck to our guns, and that's where we are. We've now done it for 9-10 years. Yeah, that's
9-10 years. Yeah.
अरे नहीं नहीं माँ जी, बगल में मेरी चाय की दुकान है, तो सोची सबको एक एक कप चाय पिला दूं। लीजिए।
जरा इधर आओ।
नहीं माँ जी, आज पैसे नहीं लूंगी।
पैसे कौन दे रहा है? सदा सुखी रहो।
Brooke Bond Red Label, स्वाद अपने